And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Loots, and I'm back with another tier list. Wouldn't you know it, I gotta finish it off. We are ranking the top centers in NBA 2K21, my team. So shout out to the center position for being one of the absolute hardest positions to rank, based on the fact that there's actually quite a few good options, and they're all pretty different. Another thing about the center tier is this year, at least in this stage in the game, we don't have all-around complete cards, really, at this point. So every card kind of has their checks and balances. Like, they're good at certain things, they're bad at other ones. And for certain positions, like the point guard position and shooting guard position, small forward too, there's a lot more checks than there are balances. So a lot of those cards are top-heavy when it comes to the top-tier guys. The center tier, not that case. So we're going to go through and we're going to rank all of them. Before we get started, please like, comment, and especially subscribe if you're new. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Help me out. Cheer me up because I'm poor and I'm not getting a next-gen console for a little while, so I'm sad watching everyone else frolic with their Xbox One early releases and things like that. So go ahead and subscribe to your boy's channel. I'll be doing, past-gen gameplay for a little while. So S tier. Absolute, unquestionable, I guess I couldn't say absolute unquestionable best cards in the game, but the best cards in the game. A tier, extremely good cards. B tier, very usable cards. They're good at 3, 4, 5 things. Pretty top-notch guys that anyone could plug in their lineup and they could actually make an impact almost immediately. C tier, specialist cards. They're good at a few different things, and they're really good at those things. D tier, basically the same as C tier, but a little under. They're good at 1 or 2 things, and they're lacking respectively in other things. They're just not quite as good as the guys in C tier. And F tier, just really guys I would recommend not using. So, with that being said, let's get started with my man Andre Drummond. Now, Drummond's kind of tough. Let me go ahead and look his player card up really fast before we get started here too deep. He has hot zones pretty much literally just in front of the basket. So, I mean, do what you will with that. His 54 speed's not terrible. He has a 95 standing dunk, 85 driving dunk. He's got some decent defensive badges. You can turn him into like a defensive beast. And he's huge. He grabs a lot of rebounds. He has like a very high interior defense, 84. It's not actually that good. I thought it'd be a lot better. A 79 vertical is pretty good for a guy of his size, though. 95, 96 offensive rebound. So I would say that he's probably going to be sitting in like D tier. He can't shoot like at all. That is a huge problem. He can't even shoot mid-ranges. But I can say that, like, honestly, the first 3 guys should all pretty much be in the same tier. Art Gilmore is really nice. He moves really well, but at the same time, like, him and Drummond aren't that much different. Same with Tyson Chandler. Like, they're all kind of right there. They all do basically the same thing. And to a better extent, Mark Eaton. And the only reason he's up above in C tier is just because he plays a little bit better defense and he blocks shots at a higher rate. And he has a little bit better of a jump shot. It's still not good. Do not get me wrong. It's pretty bad, but it's better. And he just qualifies for what would be like a C tier center at this stage. He might even drop down depending on how C tier shakes out. So got the first 4 guys off the list pretty quick. So next up we got Herb Williams. Herb is F, honestly. He can't shoot either, and he's smaller and plays worse defense than all these guys. It's nothing against him. If you're good with him, go ahead and use him. I have no issue with that. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my god, you could do so much better. If you're good with him, go ahead. We're at the stage where any card that you're good with, you can use. But at the same time, I still think he's like F tier. Vin Baker. Vin Baker's okay, but I'm going to have to drop him in D tier. He's better offensively than these guys, for sure. But it's basically a wash. Like, he's offensively better than these guys, but it doesn't make a difference because offensively he's not that much better than these guys are in retrospect, or like in reference to the fact that these guys are better than him defensively. It's basically like a wash. And there's guys that do what Vin Baker does significantly better, and that's why I'm dropping him in D tier. He could move up, he could move down, just kind of depends. Bill Lambier's better than Vin Baker, I think, anyway. Now, I will say if you shoot with meter as opposed to with shot aiming, if you shoot with shot aiming, Bill Laimbeer is actually one of the better centers in this game. He has really, really good hot zones, especially if you run 5 out. He has hot zones, all 3 3-point positions at the top of the key, which is pretty typical to where he would run. Especially if you drive the lane, he's going to shoot up to the top. So it actually works out for spacing purposes, but at the same time, he is a little bit small, but he plays pretty decent defense. He is a little bit outdated. But I would say that I think he's a little bit better than Vin Baker, personally, at the center position. Like, Vin Baker would be a better option at, like, power forward, but he's a primary center. So next up, we got Nate Thurman. Nate Thurman's like C tier. He's like, okay. He's better than these guys. But he does basically what they do, but he's a little bit better. Bill Russell. Bill Russell's B tier. He's an elite version of what all these guys are. He's absolutely lightning. He's actually fast for a center, number one. Like, he has, like, lightning speed for a center. And it feels like he's moving a lot faster than his stats suggest, I will say. Bill Russell's always a really good defensive card in this game. At this stage in the game, you can get away with playing him at center, whereas later on, you're only going to really be able to play him at power forward, especially when we're starting to get, like, high-tier Black Matter cards and stuff like that. That being said, man, he's really good and really slept on as far as the card goes. Next up, we got Bill Walton. Bill Walton, I would say, is like F. He's just a worse version of these guys. Like Drummond, Gilmore, Tyson Chandler. Gilmore's better than these two, by the way. I just want to clarify that, but he still doesn't deserve to be up here. You know what? Gilmore moves way better. I'm actually going to up Gilmore and drop Mark Eaton. That might just be the Bulls fan in me that hypes Art Gilmore, though. Next up, we got Brook Lopez. He's D. He doesn't play as good interior defense as a lot of these guys, and he doesn't shoot any better than Vin Baker, so it's no reason I can really put him above Vin Baker. Like, Vin's a little smaller, but he's also a little faster, so I don't know. It's kind of tough. Bob Lanier, B tier. Bob Lanier is actually really good. Really good interior presence. He's got like an upper 90s mid-range, so he can crack mid-ranges, especially when you're running like Hawks Freelance. You know, he'll typically drift towards the top of the key. Take a step forward, and you have a 92 open shot pretty much every time. That, and he can even handle the ball just a little bit and drive in, and he's an incredible rebounder. He's actually one of the better reward cards in this game, too. Chris Bosh. I like Chris Bosh, but I can't say he's... You know what? I will say he's... that's tough. He's fast, and he has a nice player build with a decent jump shot. And he's better than Vin Baker, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Slander me in the comments all you want. I just think that's the case. So, Pau Gasol. Yeah, I'll drop Chris Bosh down, actually. Pau Gasol is basically Chris Bosh, but a lot better at everything. He plays boards really, really nice. He rebounds exceptionally well. He can shoot corner threes. He shoots the mid-range. He can handle a little bit. He's just a really good card, honestly. Smokeem Noah. I'm a Bulls fan, so this kind of hurts for me to do, but Joakim's like really not good, like at all. You know what though? At the same time, like I'll put him in D tier. Like he's Drummond and Tyson Chandler are right here. Like I can't say that Joakim's worse than them. He's smaller, but he moves a little bit better, and he can play a little bit more perimeter defense than them, which is kind of important when you got have people running 5 out every 5 seconds. So yeah. Daryl Dawkins. I don't like Daryl Dawkins. I think he's bad. I think he's just a way worse Moses Malone, who I also don't particularly like. So it's like one of those things. If you like Daryl Dawkins, I'm sorry we don't agree, but I just think I would rather use these guys better than him. He's better offensively, but defensively, these guys bring so much more to your team that it's like one of those things where it's not a correct trade-off in my opinion. Dave Cowens, I'm going to let marinate for a little bit because I'm not 100% sure where he's going yet. Willis Reed? I would say Willis Reed C tier. He's one of the best rebounding cards in this game, and for that reason, he's got to go in C tier. He has a nice mid-range, and he can handle the ball and drive a little bit too, so. Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is an incredible defensive card, so for that reason, I'm going to put him in C tier, and has a decent driving dunk and can move pretty well. I don't think I can really say for certain that like Art Gilmore or like Willis Reed is 100% better than Ben Wallace, because they're both, it's a trade-off. They're better at different things. So Joel Embiid, honestly, with badges equipped, if you badge out Embiid a little bit and upgrade his stuff, he's actually a C tier guy. He's really similar to Bill Laimbeer. I actually like Embiid a little bit better. I can't say that he's like 100% worse than anybody, but he's not really better than anyone too. But I think he deserves probably C tier. Theo Ratliff, F. I mean, Theo Ratliff's okay. A lot of people do use him. He's really good defensively. I just personally would rather have like Drummond or Tyson Chandler, just because they're bigger and they throw it down a little harder. And then Brook Lopez and Chris Bosh shoot better. Swen Nader, yeah, he's okay. He's pretty decent. I mean, I'd rather have like Embiid is not better than Swen Nader. Does that make sense? Like stats wise, but he brings a more versatile game, which is why I think he is up in C tier as opposed to like Swen Nader. And personally, I'd rather have like Thurman. Art Gilmore is probably just a Bulls fan thing. You could probably swap Swen Nader and Art Gilmore if you really were looking at this in one way, shape, or form. Rick Smits, he's 7'4", has a pretty money mid-range jump shot. Grabs rebounds, he plays defense. He's got like a 50 speed, which is actually pretty good for someone that size. He moves pretty well. He's been one of the better cards in the game since day one, and I don't think that trend really stops. Rafe LaFrance. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and move Bill Russell up here because he plays defense so well. He's got to be A tier at this stage. Rafe LaFrance. That's tough. I'm going to put him B tier, man. There's not very many centers that do what Rafe LaFrance does. He moves really well. He has a money jump shot. He has good hot zones. He can shoot from range. He's just so good, and he has a little bit of interior presence too, so he can get muddy in the paint if he really needs to. He can get rebounds. He can block shots. He can do pretty much everything. It's weird to put like a Ruby up here this high at B tier, but he's just so good. Demarcus Cousins. I hate this card. He's like really bad, I think. Personally, I would take like all these guys over him. I really don't like it. It's just he doesn't play defense and he can't shoot, so those are not good. Kristaps is B tier. For player build alone, that he could shoot the three, like he's 7'3", dude, and he moves pretty well. You can actually drive the paint with him. He's got decent ball handling stats for a big man. There's a reason you're still running into a lot of Kristaps, and they're super annoying. He is the perfect 5-out center. Obviously, we've got better ones now, but in the beginning, there was no one like Kristaps. Wilt Chamberlain. Another controversial pick, I think. He's very similar to like Rick Smits and like Thurman and Art Gilmore, but he's just better than all of them. He just moves so well. If you've used this Wilt card or any Wilt card in-game, you're not shooting with him, but he plays ridiculous defense. He moves incredibly well. He's huge. I will admit that Bill Russell is better than him, but I can't sit here and confidently say that Bob Lanier is a better card than Wilt Chamberlain. Like, Wilt Chamberlain's actually really good, and I was surprised that this early on he'd have such a good card. Next up, we got Dikembe. Dikembe probably deserves to be right next to like Mark Eaton and Swen Nader. They're elite defensive cards, but they don't particularly move that well. They can't really shoot. Whereas like Ben Wallace is an elite defensive card, and he's smaller than them. He moves pretty well, and you can actually do some things on offense with him. Like you can attack the rim with Ben Wallace. Yeah, you can get some post slams and putbacks and stuff with Dikembe and Swen Nader, but I just feel like Ben Wallace is more versatile, especially because he can step out and guard the perimeter if need be. And Rick Smits, he's just got that mid-range jumper, and that's what sets him apart from these guys. He's just as big, if not bigger, than them, and he plays pretty decent defense, but that extra addition to his game is what puts him into C tier. Like I said in the beginning, C tier and D tier, as far as the cards go, are not that far apart or even that dissimilar. It's just that these guys have a little more versatility to their game, and that's why they're in C tier. Ilgauskas. Ilgauskas is decent. He shoots threes. He's really, really slow, but he's big. He clogs up the paint. He plays a tiny bit of defense, but more like, realistically, he just shoots really well. He has a good jump shot. He's hard to, like, contest. he brings a little bit to your team. I would say I'm not a huge fan of the card, but I can admit he's decent, you know. Hakeem Olajuwon. Upper echelon of C tier. Everything I said about Wilt Chamberlain goes for Hakeem. I just prefer Wilt, so it just might be a personal preference thing. People still use Hakeem Olajuwon because he moves really well. You know, people like him. I'm just more of a Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell guy, so maybe that's what that is. JaVale probably deserves to go right next to Mark Eaton, Dikembe, and Swen Nader. Wherever they are, even if you're redoing my list and you put them in C or B tier, like all four of these guys deserve to be right next to each other. Moses Malone, yeah, I would say he's C tier. Pretty good card. I think I like Bob Lanier a little bit better, and that's why I have Bob Lanier in B over C tier. But Moses Malone's a little faster. He has a little bit worse of a mid-range, but he can handle a little bit more and attack the paint. He rebounds really well. Doesn't rebound as well as like Wilt Chamberlain, and I don't think he shoots the mid as good as like Bob Lanier, and that's why I have them ahead. Dino Raja. Yeah, as much as I'd like to troll and put Dino in B tier, like he's not. He's a C tier center. He's really, really good. I just don't think like I can consciously put him above like Hakeem and Moses Malone. Like he's right here. He deserves to be in C tier. That's where he is. Competent center, shoots the mid range pretty decent. He moves extremely well and plays good defense. That being said, C tier is about where he should be. George Murasan, once again, deserves to go in B tier or D tier, right next to all these big, huge dudes right here. Like this big, huge defensive center lineup that we got right here. They all deserve to be right next to each other because they're all basically the same card. Ryan Hollins, I like Ryan Hollins, but he's a worse version of all these guys. Like, that's what he is. Shaq Diesel. Shaq's tough, man. He's a little more... I think he's probably C tier, and the reason for that is he's just like all these guys, but he's more athletic, but he also does the things that they do too, so it's hard to really... He has that terrible free throw and like a terrible jump shot. Like I said in the beginning of the video, man, ranking the centers is so hard right now. I'm going to get things that you guys don't agree with, or things that even you would view as wrong. I mean, that's going to happen, so... Bargiani probably deserves to be right next to Rafe LaFrance. They're pretty much, they're not the same card, but they're the same in skill level-wise. I think it's hard to make a case that Kristaps better than either of these guys, because yes, he has the player build, but these guys have better badges. And you could argue they have better jump shots too. It just depends which one that you actually like. Like, I will say I like Kristaps better than these guys, but at the same time, Bargiani and Rafe LaFrance both play in the paint pretty well, and they have better defensive badges. Like they have like box and rebound chaser and stuff. So I don't know, man. It's tough. They're just so offensively good in a position where there's not very many offensive guys that can shoot like that it's hard to drop them anywhere below B tier just based on what we're looking at. Marcus Camby. Camby probably deserves to be right next to Wilt Chamberlain. They're very similar in what they do. I like Wilt, but Camby's pretty good, I suppose. Not worth locking in for, though, I will say. Vlade Divac. Vlade's probably D tier. He deserves to probably be around, Brook Lopez, Vin Baker, Chris Bosh. Ronnie Cycli. D tier. I mean, he's just... I don't really have anything really crazy to say about him. He's just okay. Karl Anthony Towns probably deserves to be right next to like Kristaps, Rafe LaFrance, Bargiani. All those guys probably deserve to be like right here. They're all interchangeable. You can use any of the four and probably have the same amount of success. Sam Perkins is C tier. He's just a worse version of these four guys. That's just because he was in the beginning of the game. It's not really his fault. He's pretty decent. He's a little bit small though. Alonzo Mourning. We'll see. He moves really well. He plays good defense. Everything I said about Ben Wallace goes for Alonzo Mourning as well. He just brings a little bit of mid-range shooting to the table, so I think C tier is probably an appropriate place for him. Greg Oden. Greg Oden goes up in C tier because he's just like all these guys, but he shoots a little bit better, and for that reason and that reason alone, catapults him to C tier. I've only used him a few times this year, though, so maybe, hey, if you think of something different of Greg Oden, jump in the comments down below, let me know what you think. Alvin Adams, D tier. He shoots a pretty good mid-range. He's a little small. He plays defense and rebounds, so I don't know. Joe Barry Carroll, once again, pretty decent card, but he's just a worse version of all these guys. Like, Mirasan isn't good by any stretch, like, at all. But he's also 7'7", so it's like, you know, take some, I don't know. He's huge. Kareem. Kareem is a little bit outdated, but Kareem cards are Kareem cards. He moves well. He plays great defense. He shoots a little bit of a mid-range. It's hard to really, you know, argue with that. We don't really have any true S-tier centers at this point. So that's why I'm going to have to probably move Dave Cowens up here. Dave Cowens is just probably the only 5-tool complete center that we have in this game. Like, if we're being completely honest here. He is small at 6'9", yes. But he shoots the three, he shoots the mid, he handles the ball, he rim runs, he plays defense, he blocks shots. You can stick him out on the perimeter, he'll lock down the perimeter defense. He's just a complete 5-tool card. Bill Russell's better defensively, but Dave Cowens has almost a complete offensive game to go along with that, and that I think is why he's up in S tier. I think honestly with centers, like, there might only be one S and one A tier center. Everyone else is so interchangeable, you could use literally anyone, in my opinion, anyway. Duckworth, F. He's just, you know, I've already said it a million times. Yao Ming, right here. Just the big, huge guys that are way too big and can't move and can't do really anything else. Yao Ming has a little bit of a mid-range, though. But still. Al Horford. Al Horford's B tier. He's actually an incredible defensive card. How good he is defensively actually makes up for a lot of the offensive deficiencies that he lacks, period. I think, personally, he's better than, like, Moses Malone. Hakeem's kind of tough. I don't know if I could really say that he's for sure better than Hakeem. That's kind of a tough one. I'll probably just move Hakeem up, just because Hakeem's a really good defensive center. I don't think that I could really say that he's deserves to be in C tier. I think he's better than, like, Alonzo Mourning and Kareem and stuff. Yeah, I'll probably just move him up. That makes sense. These two deserve to be right next to each other, and I don't think C tier is where that is. Let's see. Big Pat's hard to rank because I've only used him once. But I will say that he is as good as Bill Russell, if not better. Patrick Ewing's jump shot, they fixed it a little bit. He is an unlimited reward, and the unlimited rewards this year have been absolutely incredible. That being said, I don't want to preemptively put him in S tier. I would say that he's probably A tier. Dave Cowens is probably the only one I would put in S tier as of right now. If you like Patrick Ewing, like, jump in the comments and let me know what you think of the card and, like, you know, everything like that. But I just don't think he's really at that S tier level. He's not like a complete card. He lacks a few different things. I don't think he's really going to be a ball handle dominant. Yeah, he's not like a ball dominant center. I don't know, man. Like I said, Dave Cowens is a, you know, I hate to use a baseball term here, but a 5-tool complete player. And, like, Patrick Ewing doesn't seem like that. What do we got? PJ Brown. PJ Brown's actually a really good defensive center. I'll put him in C tier. He's really good, and he hits a little bit of mid-range too, so he's solid. Roy Hibbert, you know where he's going. D tier. He's just huge. That's it. Robert Parrish, sorry, buddy. F tier. You're not good. And then we got one of the challenging ones. This is a card I didn't get Season 1. And it's really tough to place this guy. But I will say, he's probably A tier, to be honest with you. Everything I said about Wilt probably goes the same for Ralph Sampson. Ralph Sampson does have those little T-Rex arms, so he's kind of like, doesn't have that huge wingspan, but he's also like 7'4", and he moves pretty well. That's the key with Ralph Sampson, is he, contrary to what his stats actually say, I've played against this card, and he moves exceptionally well for a big man. Like, he says he only has a 44 speed, but if you've used him, he just seems to move really well. And with rim running being the meta this year, he's almost unstoppable when it comes to running rim. And he has Hall of Fame Intimidator. Like, this dude is absurd. Absolutely absurd. It'd be really cool if you can give him clamps, but also he's playing at the center position. And he's 7'4" and not very fast, so it's not really going to do too much. Yeah, I would say he's A tier. I would say Cowens is the only one S tier, and I'm sure no one's going to agree with that. So anyways, this is the list, guys. I really hope you guys don't hate me too much. Like I said, the other ones I was pretty confident in my rankings, but center is kind of such a weird position where it's like I don't know who deserves to be here and here and here, just because we don't have any truly elite centers this year. So either way, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Don't forget to like, comment down below, get into debates with me over which cards you think should have been higher and which ones you think should have been lower. Other than that, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I literally put out daily NBA 2K21 content till my eyes bleed. I do apologize to everyone on the channel. I cannot get a next-gen system for a little bit, so I will be putting up current-gen gameplay for the most part. That being said, my team is the exact same. They really didn't change anything at all, which honestly, normally I'd be the first person to hate on 2K because I usually am. But this is actually a really good thing that they didn't change anything for my team, because it keeps the people who have to play current gen for a while. It means that you're playing the same game mode as the people who got next gen consoles, so they're not leaps and bounds ahead of you, or vice versa, or you feel like you're missing out. Like, my team is almost going to be the same game. So I don't know what they're going to do with the badges. I don't know if they're going to change all the badges in current gen as well, or if that's just a next gen thing, but they said my team transfers over, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. So we'll find out probably tomorrow or the next day with a big patch, and we'll figure out what's going on there. That being said, I'll have a video out if they do change the badges, going over them and stuff like that. So go check out my podcast, Will This Ever End? I actually have a new episode coming out tonight, probably around like 10 or 11, if not tomorrow morning. We'll see. I'm recording it tonight. Check out the Patreon if you want to support me in any other way. And I will be streaming tomorrow morning, so check me out, twitch.tv/cheapludes. I'm going to do a pack opening for whatever packs they drop tomorrow, so it'll be pretty interesting. Either way, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Thank you for watching the video, and thank you for watching all my tier lists. I appreciate you.